Number 10. In 1986, Paul Simon traveled to South Africa to record his album Graceland, while the country was still under apartheid. In doing so, he broke a UN cultural boycott called for by the African National Congress, the main anti-apartheid movement led by figures like Nelson Mandela. Many saw it as a betrayal of the struggle, but Simon saw it differently. He wanted to collaborate with black artists, bring their talent to the world, and undermine apartheid through music. It earned him both praise and fierce criticism. Graceland became a masterpiece and gave global recognition to groups like Ladysmith Black Mambazo. It was not protest music in the usual sense, but it was a political statement. Music can cross borders, shake systems, and connect people who are kept apart. Paul Simon walked into a minefield, but planted something there that still grows.
Number 9. In Northern Ireland, politics is never far away. For Kneecap, it is in every beat. This Belfast hip-hop group mixes humour with sharp criticism of the British state and draws both the rage of politicians and the love of young fans. Even their name is political. Kneecap refers to the brutal punishment of shooting someone through the knee, a tactic used during the Troubles and infamously associated with the IRA. The band chose it as a knowingly provocative nod to Belfast's dark history, not as an endorsement of violence. They are among the most vocal artists on Palestinian liberation. For Kneecap, Ireland and Palestine share the same fight against colonial rule and state violence. At Glastonbury 2025, they wore the Palestinian flag and led chants for Gaza and condemned British and Western complicity in recent wars. The BBC tried to silence them and did not show or mention their performance. Same thing happened in the United States at Coachella 2025. They showed messages accusing Israel of genocide and calling for Palestinian freedom. Organizers cut these parts from the live stream, an act the band saw as being silenced for their views. In 2025, they were also banned from entering Hungary for 3 years, officially for alleged support of terrorism. The ban only made their voice louder.
Number 8. Gil Scott-Heron rose to fame in the late 1960s and early 70s in the shadow of Vietnam, Nixon, and the civil rights struggle. Martin Luther King Jr. had just been assassinated. American cities were burning after police killings, and black voices were either silenced or ignored. Gil refused to stay quiet. With a deep voice and sharper words, he exposed injustice through poetry, jazz, and funk. His most famous piece, "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised,"
The revolution will not be televised.
was not just a slogan, it was a warning. Real change would not come through politicians or ads. It would come from the streets. He wrote about racism, poverty, addiction, and state violence. But he also wrote about hope, pride, and what it meant to survive inside a broken system. Gil Scott-Heron called himself a bluesologist, a scientist of pain. He did not sing to entertain, he sang to shake people awake. And he still does.
Number 7. Bruce Springsteen grew up among factory workers. He watched his father struggle with unemployment and turned that experience into music for the working class. He gave a voice to people who did not have one. His song, Born in the USA, was often misunderstood as patriotic. In reality, it was a protest song about how veterans were treated after Vietnam. Presidents Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump both tried to use the song at rallies, believing it was a celebration of America. Springsteen publicly objected and pointing out its true meaning. He has campaigned for Barack Obama and Joe Biden, spoken against wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and backed unions in their fights for fair wages. He played concerts to support food banks, stood up for LGBTQ rights, and condemned racism and police brutality after events in Ferguson and Charlottesville.
Number 6. Bob Dylan was not an activist in the traditional sense. He did not march with a megaphone. but his words did the work. In the 1960s, he became the voice of a generation. The times they are a-changin', blowin' in the wind, masters of war, protest songs that still matter. He sang about racism, war, poverty, and power, but did it in his own poetic way. He kept moving, kept changing, and refused to be pinned down by any one cause. That made him even stronger. Dylan did not belong to any party. He wrote about what it means to be human in a broken world. His influence is so deep that even artists who do not mention him are shaped by him anyway.
If you guys and girls want to see more of these top 10s,
please like and subscribe to Boys Next Door.
Number 5. Neil Young has always walked his own path. It often ran against the grain. In 1970, after 4 unarmed students were shot and killed by the National Guard during a peaceful protest at Kent State University, Neil wrote the song Ohio in pure rage. The protest was against President Nixon's invasion of Cambodia. The blood was still fresh when the song hit the airwaves. Radio stations were afraid to play it, but it became an anthem, a cry of disbelief. Neil never stopped calling out injustice. He sang about environmental collapse and after the gold rush. He supported indigenous rights long before it was popular. He wrote against corporate greed, against war, and against political lies. In the 2000s, he released his album Living with War, with the song Let's Impeach the President, aimed squarely at George W. Bush. But Neil Young did not stop at lyrics. He invested in clean energy. He pushed for climate solutions. He even removed his music from Spotify to protest COVID disinformation. Neil Young is not a man of compromise. Whether it is music, politics, or principle, he says what he believes and keeps saying it, even when it costs him fans, deals, or friends.
Number 4. Rage Against the Machine turned political rock into a weapon. Their mix of rap, punk, and heavy riffs carried lyrics about police brutality, corporate greed, and U.S. foreign policy. They did not just sing about revolution, they lived it. Frontman Zach De La Rocha delivers each verse like a street protest in full eruption. He has spoken out for indigenous rights, against U.S. wars, and in defense of political prisoners. Guitarist Tom Morello is a Harvard graduate in political science and a union activist who also performs solo as the Night Watchman. He combines music with speeches, street protest, and education. Their video for their song Sleep Now in the Fire is directed by Michael Moore and famously shut down the front of the New York Stock Exchange. They chose it as a symbol of corporate power and economic inequality. The police ended the shoot. The footage became iconic.
Number 3. Nina Simone had no filter, not in interviews, not in life, and definitely not in her music. She started as a classical pianist, became a jazz and soul icon, and turned into the voice of Black Power. Her songs did not just express pain, they named names. Mississippi Goddam was written after the bombing of a black church that killed 4 little girls. She wrote it in 1 hour. It was a scream, a refusal to stay silent. She sang about the anger of being judged by your skin, about the limits placed on black women, about pride, beauty, and the right to exist without fear. She lost bookings, sponsors, and airplay, but she kept going. She was angry, brilliant, fierce, and righteous. She believed it was an artist's duty to reflect the world around them, and she lived that belief completely. Her voice was a storm. Her piano was a protest sign. Nina Simone did not make background music. She made people listen. And if they did not, that was exactly the problem.
Number 2. Sinead O'Connor became world famous for the song Nothing Compares to You, but she was never a pop star in the usual sense. She fought sexism, racism, abuse, and hypocrisy. She did it alone and took the backlash head on. In her song Black Boys on Mopeds, she condemned police racism and British hypocrisy. But her most famous moment came live on Saturday Night Live, when she ripped up a photo of Pope John Paul II. She said, "Fight the real enemy."
Fight the real enemy.
The outrage was immediate. She was banned, mocked, shut down. But years later, she was proven right when abuse within the Catholic Church became a global scandal. Sinead paid a high price for her honesty, but she never backed down. She sang with a force you could not ignore. She spoke with a clarity you could not escape. She was not made for show business. She was made for truth.
Number 1. Fela Kuti did not just talk about politics, he was politics. In Nigeria in the 70s, he used Afrobeat as a weapon against corruption, colonialism, and military rule. The country was run by generals who stole oil money, crushed protests, and silenced dissent. He owned a music club in Lagos that was called the Kalakuta Republic, a self-declared independent nation with its own rules, its own radio, and no respect for the regime. He made himself president, named his wives as ministers, turned his compound into a commune of resistance, and his concerts into political fire. Fela was arrested more than 200 times. His mother, a feminist icon, was thrown from a window during a military raid. His home and studio were burned to the ground. Still, he never backed down. He called out generals by name. He mocked power without fear. Albums like Zombie and songs like Coffin for Head of State were not just dangerous, they were necessary. Fela risked his body, his voice, and his life to speak the truth. He did not perform to entertain. He performed to expose, and he never stopped. Thank you for watching. We are the Boys Next Door. We talk music.
Like and subscribe for more top 10s and other music videos.